Hey everybody, welcome to Kindred Spirits. I'm your host, Christy Brower, and you know it. You're listening live to Marvelous Monday here on 12radio.com. I am always thrilled to be here with you, and I'm excited to let you know that I'm back live on Facebook Live. I haven't been on Facebook Live for a couple of weeks. Had some things going on. Things are a little different now, so I'm back. So please join me in the chat room because I am in there ×2. You will find my banner is pinned to the top of the page. That is the post that my producer Scott put up for me. That is the place that I appreciate if you have comments, questions, reading requests, that you post those there, because it's a lot easier for me to see them. The comments on the video do roll up. But I am also there in Facebook Live, and so you can watch the show if you would like to, rather than listen. I recommend doing one or the other because times don't sync up, so you might want to just listen to the audio on the video instead of on the radio, because it won't be in stereo. It will make you feel like you might be losing your mind just a little bit. So anyway, that's what I'm doing today. I'm excited to be here today because I feel like I have an important topic, and I guess I would say that I always feel like I have an important topic for the time. You know me, I put a lot of effort into reading the energy of the collective and determining, what is it that's going on with us right now? What do we need to work on? What are we struggling with? What do we have in our psyches right now that we're struggling with? And so today I am going to talk to you about fear. Fear is something that has come up a lot with people in my life lately, clients, friends, family, myself. Fear is the most common four-letter word that I have heard in the last week, and I gotta say I hear a lot of four-letter words, so you know it's something's up when we're hearing a lot about fear. So I have some things to share about fear, and I have some ideas. We're going to do a meditation that helps with fear, and then I am going to take your questions and your reading requests in the chat. I especially love to take the questions that are related to my topic. So if you are struggling with fear in some way, please let us know. Those are the questions that I will be most likely to get to today. So just want to give you a little hint. If you want to be sure to get a reading in the show, that's the way to do it. So I love this quote by H.P. Lovecraft. The oldest and strongest emotion of mankind is fear, and the oldest and strongest kind of fear is fear of the unknown. There's a lot of advice in this world about how to deal with fear. Some say to avoid it, some say to face it, some say being afraid is a weakness. Some say fear is the enemy. But what we all know is that fear itself is real inside of each of us, and how to manage it is a challenge. Fear actually comes from the ego, so it is meant to keep us alive. Being afraid in a dangerous situation kicks our survival instincts into overdrive. We might run, fight, or freeze, but whatever we do it to survive. Fear is an ancient emotion. The fear of annihilation literally has kept our species alive. In the past, it was pretty straightforward. We knew who the enemy was, and immediate action could lend immediate results. The problem with fear in the modern age is that the enemy is generally unknown. We fear all kinds of what-if situations, most that will never actually happen. It is hard to identify the enemy. For example, at work, you may fear losing your job, but your fight or flight instincts are useless in that situation. In fact, they have the opposite effect. If you can't fight your boss and win to keep your job, and you can't run away and keep your job. Our lives are filled with subtle threats: online bullies, politics, religion, loss of all kinds, and potentials that may or may not happen. So how do we face this constant threat and find some peace? I know that the answer may be different for each of us, but here are some thoughts that I have about it. Living in the now is a great way to avoid what-if thinking. So practice keeping your mind focused in the moment, what you can actually manage right now. Too much future thinking amplifies the fear of the unknown. That's when we get stuck in that cycle of what if this happens, and then what if this happens, then what if this happens. None of those things are real, are they? They're just in our heads. And they create a great deal of fear inside of us, don't they? We are not in control of what happens to us. We want to believe that we are, but it just isn't the case. This is really hard to see for ourselves, but we can see it in others. I want you to think of someone that you know that has experienced a recent loss. Did they have any control over what happened? Could they have changed the outcome? Most of the time, the answer is no. We want to be in control, and of course, we can do things, and there are things that we do have control over inside of ourselves, things that we can do, choices that we make. But does it mean that we are in control of the outcome of everything that happens in our lives? No, we really aren't, as much as we want to be. We really are not. So it's important for us to get okay with that impermanence, to get okay with that understanding that we actually are not in control of everything. Accepting impermanence helps to release fear. When I know that I can't control everything that happens to me, then I accept that my job is to keep moving forward and constantly adjusting to change. I feel much more peaceful about the future. I hope that you do too, but I do think that that helps us a lot, getting okay with impermanence and recognizing that, we can put our best efforts forward to get the future that we want and to move our lives in the direction that we want it to go. And it may or may not go there. We just don't always know. And so I think it's important to get to that point of recognizing that impermanence is a part of being human, and things just do not always go the way that we want them to. Things happen. It is not about what happens. It is about what we do with it that really does matter. And sometimes the things that we fear the most happen and turn out to be okay for us, don't they? I'm sure we've all had that experience where you're afraid of an outcome, and when it comes, you realize that maybe things are okay, that maybe this was not as bad as you thought it to be. I think that the anticipation of something happening is often much worse than the actual experience. Okay, let's see. Okay. I see lots of you in the chat talking about struggling with fear, and so good, we're going to talk about this. Sorry, my Facebook is running so slow, guys. I'm trying to keep up with the chat, but that is going a little slow for me. Okay, when it comes to fear, I think it's important to remember that not everything is a lesson. Sometimes we try to find how was this my fault? How was this my responsibility? How could I have changed it or made it better? And the reality is that sometimes we can't. And sometimes it isn't about learning a lesson. Sometimes it is just about what happens in life. And it's not about what we do with it, because we might not be able to do anything with it other than what we do inside of ourselves. Maybe we learn something, maybe we don't. But setting ourselves up to believe that everything that happens in our lives is a lesson is a mistake, I think. I think that we end up putting a lot of blame on ourselves in that situation that is unnecessary. Fear is an emotion, and just like all emotions, it needs to be expressed. Find ways to release fear by expressing it through discourse. Talk about it. Art, music, writing, dancing, yoga, meditating, praying, or anything else that has meaning for you. We can express fear through creative pursuits. Sometimes that's a really positive for us. It gives us a way to give it a voice. Everyone has fear. You cannot become spiritually enlightened enough to overcome fear. You live with it, express it, understand it, but you never lose it. None of us do. Sometimes fear is your friend. Sometimes we fear things that are very real. Sometimes having a fear of a situation or a person or an experience helps us to be safer. So don't discount it. We know that a lot of our fears are what ifs, and they aren't all real, but some of them are. So assess everyone individually and recognize that sometimes we're afraid for a reason. Have you ever had a fear about a person that was realized at one point or another that it came to be that you knew that there was a reason for that fear, or a situation? Did you fear a choice that you make and you choose not to make it and you find out it turned out okay? I do think that there is intuition in fear, but it is not always intuition. Of course, nothing is absolute, and that's the hard part about all of this. We can't say fear is always this or fear is always that. It isn't true. But sometimes our fears are our intuition speaking to us. So you do want to be careful if you are in a situation where you're very fearful of something. Maybe it is your intuition saying something to you. So explore that. But also look at, is this what if thinking? Are you setting yourself up in a situation where you are projecting out into the future, decision after decision after decision? What if this happens, then this, then this, then this, then this? That's what if thinking. And we all do it. And it's not particularly useful because it amplifies our fear, right? The more we do it, the more afraid we become of a situation, because it can get worse and worse and worse the more we do it. The more we recognize that, oh, then this terrible thing and this terrible thing, and so it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So I encourage you to really work on recognizing and stopping the what if thinking. Recognizing that accepting impermanence is a really good way to work with fear. To recognize that I'm not in control of all of this. I am in control of me and my choices and my, behavior and what I choose to do. Beyond that, I'm really not. And accepting that impermanence is important because it does help us to recognize that we just are along for the ride. And sometimes we have to know, we just have to trust that things will work out the way that not really the way that they're supposed to, but that they will work out in a way that's good for us. I do believe that to be true, that even when bad things happen, sometimes they steer us in a better direction. I'm going to tell you a story about myself that I had last week when it comes to impermanence and the fear of the unknown. I saw my primary care doctor last Friday, and you guys know I struggle with a primary immune deficiency, and so it's an immune system condition that makes me very prone to all kinds of infections because I only kind of have about a half an immune system. It's genetic. I was born with it. So last week when I saw my doctor, I pointed out a little infection I had behind my right ear, because I need to always tell my doctors about infections because they can be a big deal for me. And she said, oh, I'm pretty worried about that. She said, you could have something called mastoiditis. So mastoiditis is an infection in the mastoid bone, which is the bone right behind your ear. That bone is very porous. It's kind of like a honeycomb. It helps with sound and resonance. Well, it can get an infection, and it's a very serious bone infection, and it requires IV antibiotics, and sometimes it requires surgery even to clean out the bone. So, of course, this was not news that I was excited about. I was really afraid. I was scared that I might have this because I was having some other symptoms that indicate that I do have an infection. Plus, I was having some pain behind my ear and, some symptoms there. And so she said, okay, you need to have a CT scan because that's how we can tell. You need to have your bone looked at. Well, as you know how it goes in the medical community, I couldn't get the CT scan until Thursday. So I waited all week, not knowing, do I have this infection or not? Should I be on IV antibiotics? Things like this can be very dangerous for anybody, but particularly for people like me. So all week I'm waiting and trying to stay in the moment and focus and, recognize that I need to not worry about this unless I know it's actually true. And it was very frustrating. So Thursday comes, and late in the afternoon, I finally have the CT scan. And, they tell me that the CT it will take until the next morning to get to my doctor, the report. So again, I'm, waiting and waiting and waiting. And I wait until about 1:00 in the afternoon on Friday, and I call my doctor's office, and the nurse says that they haven't seen the results and that she'll see if she can track them down. Well, I wait all afternoon, no answer, no phone call, Again, the fear of the unknown, that anticipation, waiting to hear, because here it is late in the day on Friday. Am I even going to get an answer? 5:00 comes and goes. And so then I have to start getting okay with, I may not know the answer to this until Monday. And I'm just going to just keep moving ahead. Everything's okay. I'm okay. And finally, about 5:40, my nurse from my doctor's office calls to tell me that my CT scan was clear and I do not have mastoiditis. Huge relief. But just, that the adrenaline that you get from an experience like that, it takes a little time to sort of come down from it. I didn't want to have mastoiditis. I do still have an infection. We don't know what it is, but anyway, we'll figure that out. But the bottom line is that I spent a whole week anticipating the answer and thinking about some plans we have coming up this week. And was I going to be able to follow through with them? Or was I going to be getting daily IVs? Or was I going to have surgery? You know how it goes, the whole what if projecting. And I did some of that. And then I would pull myself back into the present and say, okay, I'm okay right now. If I do have this, we'll deal with it, like everything else. It's going to be okay. It was a struggle. All week was a struggle, waiting for this to work itself out and to know if things were going to be okay. And it was part of what got me thinking about this topic, is that we live in situations like that all the time, don't we? Whether it's our health or the health of someone else, whether, whatever it is, we wait a lot. Our modern society gives us a lot of opportunities to work on staying in the now because we are waiting for the outcomes of things. If you're trying to buy a house or get a new job or get a raise, all of those things require waiting and unknown outcomes, which can create fear. So it's why I thought it would be a good idea for us to focus on this particular topic this week and, look at some solutions. I also wanted to share a meditation with you. I'm going to take a quick drink and then we're going to do our meditation. So today's meditation is my inner peace meditation. You've done it with me before, but I think it's a really great one to help us if we're struggling with fear. So, Scott, if you would cue up our music, we're going to do our inner peace meditation. Close your eyes and take a few deep breaths. Allow your body to settle and your mind to go quiet. Imagine that you are walking down a path in the woods. Take a moment to hear the wind in the trees and feel the sun on your face and smell the pine needles. As you walk, you notice a sense of calm come over you, an inner knowing that all is well in this place and in you. You notice that you are approaching a log staircase that leads to a serene meadow with a small pond. As you descend the stairs, you feel your consciousness moving down into your heart, preparing you for an experience of deep inner peace. When you reach the bottom of the staircase, take a moment to drink in the magnificent scene before you. The pond is still and reflecting the blue sky and white clouds above you. There are tiny purple flowers blooming all over the meadow, nestled in soft green grass. Near the pond is a bench under a willow tree. You hear a breeze in the willow, beckoning you to come and rest. You take a seat on the bench. Next to the bench is a basket of smooth, round pebbles. These pebbles represent the cares and worries in your life that get in the way of your inner peace. Take a moment to choose a worry or a fear that you would like to give away. Pick up a pebble and whisper your worry into it. and then toss the pebble into the pond. Watch the ripples in the pond and notice how the pond returns quickly to its serene and undisturbed state. See how the pond releases the experience and returns to peace. Choose another worry and another pebble and repeat the process. Notice how each time the pond is disturbed, it returns quickly to serenity. Throw as many of your cares and worries into the pond as you would like. Although your experience may disturb your inner peace momentarily, you can choose to return to a place of serenity just like the pond. Now take a moment to remember this place and the feeling of peace here. You know you can return here any time to release your cares and worries, and also remind yourself how to return to serenity like the pond. When you're ready, stand up from the bench and return to the staircase. As you ascend, feel your consciousness rise back up into your head, storing your experiences for future reference. And as you walk the path, bring yourself back to awareness. Feel the earth beneath your feet and become aware of the sounds around you. And when you're ready, take 3 deep breaths. And open your eyes. All right, very good. I hope you enjoyed that meditation. I hope that was helpful to you. Definitely a good way to get yourself back into a sense of peace if you are feeling stressed out, if you're feeling fearful, if you're struggling with being in a sense of fear all the time. And that's something that I've been hearing from people quite a bit lately, is this sense of fear about the state of the country that you live in, about the state of the planet, and that we're having trouble getting past that sense of fear, and that there's too much of it going on around us, and that we struggle with, just feeling okay from day to day. So one thing that I want to encourage you to do, I've talked about this on the radio before, but I do this for myself, and I think this is a good idea for most of us. If you are feeling fearful, it's important to give yourself a reality check. That it helps to return you to a state of present moment. So if you're feeling afraid about any particular situation, go ahead and stop, take a couple of deep breaths, and then look around you. Take stock of the space that you are in. Where are you? Are you, if you're in your living room, I'm in my office right now, or if you're in your office or your cubicle or your car or your kitchen, wherever you are. Look around that space and ask yourself, am I okay? Is everything okay in this moment? Am I safe? Yes, I am safe in this moment. There are no threats around me, are they? You guys can see it because I'm on video. You can see that I'm safe. There's nothing happening in my life right now at this moment that I need to be afraid of, is there? It's really important um, to do that periodically if you're struggling with fear, because it brings you back into the present moment. And that's when you can realize that right now I'm okay. And if we're constantly projecting out into the future, we get stuck in this place of feeling like, we have to always be playing the what if game, instead of recognizing that if we're okay right now, we're okay. Can we control what's coming? Not necessarily. Will we be able to affect it when it happens? Yes. Can we affect it before it happens? Probably not, unless it's something that's specifically about your own choices. For example, when it came to this suspected infection in my head, could I do anything about it if I didn't, once I found out I might have it? Not really. I mean, of course, we're not going to treat it unless I actually have it. There's not really anything I can do until I know the truth, right? Till I know the answer. So what ifing myself into the ground didn't help. Worrying about it didn't help. Being afraid about it didn't help. It didn't change the outcome, certainly. And so there wasn't anything that I could do about it except for practice staying in the present moment and accepting impermanence and recognizing that if this is true, then I'll deal with it. And when I know the actual outcome, that moment of finding out the truth, that's when you can take action. And had I had the infection, obviously I would have worked with my doctor to take action about it. And it's weird and I think we do this to ourselves, we build up around fear, we create sort of this stress response about it, and then you sort of have this weird letdown afterward if it turns out everything's okay. I know I did. It was weird. It was like, I don't want to have this infection, but it also feels weird when, okay, the answer's no, I'm fine. Well, I'm actually not. We're still struggling with, I do still have an infection. We don't know what it is. But so I'm back to impermanence, right? I'm back to, that's sort of the story of my life these days. And I'll be okay. I'm okay right now in the moment. So everything is okay. And so I have to go back to that place of, I'm okay right now. And I'm okay with impermanence. So that's my message for this week. I can see that it is resonating with lots of you in the chat room. I'm certainly going to get to your questions and your requests for readings, as many of you as I can today. Of course, I can't always get to everybody, but I did want to share a stone. I usually share a stone of the week. So this week is Smoky Quartz. So I'm just going to hold up my Smoky. This is a great big awesome piece of Smoky Quartz from Crystal Park, Montana. You guys have seen a lot of my stones that are from Crystal Park. It's not very far from me. It's a place I've been going most of my life, and I love the stones from there. So this is a great big piece of Smoky Quartz. Smoky Quartz is a grounding stone, so it's a root chakra stone. It's also a protective stone, and so it's a great stone to help with fear. Our roots, of course, are our center of safety, security, and stability. So balancing the root chakra and keeping yourself stable and grounded and centered is a really key part of managing fear, isn't it? When you feel safe inside yourself, then you can deal with whatever else goes on in the rest of the world, right? When you're safe inside of you, you feel like you have the resources to manage what else is happening around you. We also have a tendency to feel sometimes like we're vulnerable, like we need some protection. And Smoky Quartz is a great stone to help to provide that. So this obviously is a huge point. This point is one of my pride and joys. I will admit I did not pick this one up in Crystal Park, Montana. I got this from someone else who did. But it is a stone that I hold. I will sit and hold this in my lap when I'm struggling, when I'm feeling, the resistance of impermanence, when I'm feeling that fear and that desire to what if myself to death. I use Smoky Quartz to help me with that. So I would encourage you to get some. Of course, you don't have to get a piece this big. You can get a small tumbled piece or a small point. There's all different kinds of ways to get Smoky Quartz. But it's a great stone to have in your arsenal if you're into crystal healing and you like to have stones around you. Smoky Quartz is a great one to have in your kit to help with moments of fear and struggling with that sense of being unsafe. You know, do you ever just feel vulnerable? Like something happens that's upsetting and then you feel vulnerable, like what else is coming? What's, you know, that the what ifs and the, you know, what's next kind of feeling. That can definitely get you into the what if thinking. So use a piece of smoky quartz to help you to settle that root chakra. Okay. You guys love my smoky quartz. I can see you all think it's humongous, and it is. It's a huge piece. It's very comforting to hold. Partly the weight of it actually helps it to be more comforting. And I am really struggling with Facebook today. It keeps freezing, so I may actually open it on a different computer next to me here. I have to look away from you a little bit in the video to do this, but I feel like I might need to look at Facebook on a different computer because this one is just not really letting me do it. I don't know why. The impermanence of Facebook, right? It's helping us work on our fears. Okay. I'm going to get there. All right. So I did want to remind you that I write for the Power Peak every week. And my article about fear came out in the Power Peak on Saturday night. The Power Peak is Mark Husson's newsletter. If you don't receive it, you can get it by going to 12house.com and you can sign up for it. You'll see CA's article the week ahead there. You'll see Mark's announcements about what's coming up. Mo Abdelbaki always writes his Out of Mo's Mind article, always something valuable and often hilarious to learn there. I write Christie's Quill. There's a message from Grace. So lots of great things to help you to kind of see what's coming up for your week and, you know, get prepared for what's coming next. A great opportunity to do that in the Power Peak. Okay, yes, I apologize. I am going to have to look away from the video just a little bit so that I can see the chat room because this computer will not let me. So lucky me, because I am a radio producer, I'm sitting in front of a desk with 3 computers. So I will not let the impermanence of Facebook win today, and I will just open a different computer and see what you all have to say. Mercy says the meditation was of great help. Thanks. Oh, I am so glad, Mercy. That's wonderful. So that meditation is available for free download on my website, christybrower.com. Just go to the free meditations tab and you'll find Inner Peace there, along with a whole bunch of other meditations that I've done here on the radio. So feel free to pick that up if you think it would be helpful to you, or any of the other meditations that are there. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Maureen says, "Hi, Christy, if you have time, can I please request work on my root chakra?" Hey, awesome. Very, very topical question, isn't it? Many thanks. Definitely struggling with the fear of loss in finances, especially after being out 10 weeks, no paycheck. Okay, too bad, Maureen. You know what? Let's do this together. If anybody else is struggling with root chakra, let's do a cycle of energy breathing together. And I'm going to balance Maureen and get her root back in shape, but I think this will be good for everyone. So just close your eyes and bring your attention to your root chakra. It's at the base of your spine in the center of your body. And it actually runs all the way down your legs to the bottoms of your feet. The root chakra is the biggest chakra in your body. It is the foundation of your energy body. No wonder it really matters if it's balanced, right? Okay, now that you're feeling your root, I want you to drop your root cords out of the bottoms of your feet. So 1 cord out of each foot. We're going to drop those root cords down to the center of the earth. We're going to ask the goddess Gaia, who is the spirit of the earth, to take hold of our root cords, grounding us and centering us, making a strong connection between us and the energy of the earth. Now we're going to draw that earth's energy all the way up through those root cords, up through the bottoms of our feet, and feel it travel up our legs and to settle in the root chakra. You probably notice this energy feels a little bigger, stronger, warmer, higher vibrating than what we had before. Now we're going to draw that energy all the way through our energy bodies and out the crowns of our heads in what I call energy breathing. So this is breathing in new energy and breathing out old. So we breathe in new by drawing energy up through our root chakras, all the way up through our energy bodies. We breathe out the old energy out the crowns of our heads. So it's just like breathing. We're breathing in something new and breathing out something that's done, that's stagnant, that's no longer useful for us. So breathe that new energy in and draw it all the way up through your energy body and breathe it out the crown of your head. We're going to breathe it in through your root, all the way up through your energy body and out the crown of your head. So remember, as you're doing this, you're breathing in new life force energy. You're breathing out old energy that no longer serves you. So you're breathing out fear. You're breathing out worry. You're breathing out pain. You're breathing out emotions. You're breathing out anything that no longer serves you. So breathe in that new energy and breathe out through your crown. This is the cycle of energy breathing. This is a great way to balance yourself. So breathe energy in and breathe it out. A couple more times. Breathe it in and breathe it out. Breathe it in and breathe it out. Very good. I hope that that helps you to feel more stable and grounded. That is another of my free meditations on my website. It's called Energy Breathing. That would be a great one to pick up if you're struggling with this. So Maureen, I hope you're using energy breathing. And I know that you're working on accepting impermanence, aren't you, right now? And accepting that you just have to roll with whatever comes next in your life. And something will come and a change will occur. And you may just be being pushed in one direction or another. But that impermanence is not easy for anybody, is it? So much love to you, Maureen. I hope that that helped with your root. Let's see what else we've got here. Okay, Katie says, hello, may I please have a message? I am worried about my brother and his family. I know it's not my business, but it will affect our family if they can't work it out, and I'm fearful that they won't. Okay, so I'm assuming this is a relationship that's struggling, Katie, with your brother. And you're right that it isn't your business, in that you can't really do anything about it other than support them, right? And it's something that we want to do, and you may or may not, have an opinion on whether a relationship stays together or not, but ultimately it is up to them. But I would say this, Katie, that the best thing that you can do for your own peace of mind is to support your brother. Reach out to him, ask if there's anything that you can do to help, be present for him while he makes his own changes. We get very hung up on the situations of others, the worries of others, and it is a big part of our fear, isn't it? And it is a part of fear that we cannot control because it is about somebody else's choices. And that's hard because we want to, right? We want to sit them down and say, okay, here you go. Here's what you should do. But in reality, we don't really know, do we? We don't know what someone else should do in a situation. We have an opinion, but do we really know what they should do with their life? No, only they can determine that. So, Katie, my encouragement for you is to be supportive of your brother, be supportive of that family in whatever way that you can, and work at being neutral about the outcome, and recognize that the outcome will be only their own. And either way, you will find a way because you're family. Okay? Terry says she got chills when we did energy breathing. Must have needed grounding more than I was aware. Yeah, we get used to being in a fairly ungrounded state, and we kind of forget what it feels like to be grounded. And so we often have a big physical reaction when we get grounded, when we've been really ungrounded. I've seen that in myself and other people too, because it is a significant shift in vibration. Okay, let's see. Jennifer says, I'm struggling with fear. She says, how do you move past it when it is PTSD? So we're talking about fear related to trauma. This is a really insidious kind of fear, because when you have had a trauma in your life and you struggle with fear, there's the fear that it may happen again. There's the fear that you can never get away from it. There's the fear that it will just continue to repeat inside of you forever. Jennifer, I hope that you have had some kind of PTSD counseling and mental health support. If you haven't, you should get some. And there are lots of different kinds. One that I think is really useful is called EMDR. And EMDR is a rapid eye therapy that is used to repattern the way that your brain looks at experiences, and it helps to repattern yourself away from trauma reactions. Jennifer, I think that would be a really helpful thing with you. I also know that we can do some trauma work in cord pulling and in energy healing as far as releasing yourself from trauma. One difficulty with trauma is if you are still in any kind of relationship that is creating trauma for you, it is difficult to clear it because it's still happening. When it's been the past, we can do a little more work with it. So those are things to look at. But for you, Jennifer, I think I want to just do a really solid healing in your heart chakra. That's what I feel like would be the most beneficial today on the radio. Obviously, we're going to do, a shortened version of what we could do if you wanted to give me a call over at 12Listen. So let's just take a look at your heart. And I feel like sometimes our hearts get too spread out and there's not enough energy in them. Sort of, that sense of feeling hollow. We've all had that at different times in our lives. Often comes with grief. Jennifer, I feel that in your heart. And so I feel like I want to do some energy work to fill that up for you, to fill that space with the kind of energy that your heart needs in order to heal itself. And that would be with some gold energy. So I'm going to do that for you right now, Jennifer. Just heal your heart with some gold energy. Fill that up in order to support you in continuing to heal. And, we all know that healing trauma is a journey, and it's a lifelong journey. And there are lots of different components to it. But I would recommend, Jennifer, if you can, look for a trauma therapy like EMDR to try, because it's a little different. It's not talk therapy. It is pretty specifically about healing trauma in your in your brain. It's to change the physical and psychological responses that you have, and it's very, very beneficial. I've seen it help people a lot. So good luck, and thank you so much for the question. Let's see. Dominus says, I do believe that working our way through fear and fearful situations is one of the reasons we are here, a big part of our soul's development to navigate fear. I think that's interesting, As in these human physical bodies, we experience different levels of fear than I think that we do on a soul level. The fear of annihilation is not a real thing in a soul that can never be destroyed, but a physical body can. And so we certainly do deal with fear on a completely different level in this life than maybe we have before. So that's a good point. Ivy says, seems like every time I do my tarot cards or I hear it from others time to time that I have fear of being seen and expressing myself, which mentally I'm like, no, but then I really think about it, and I've been ill with RA for almost 10 years, not being able to work, homebound, and I always wonder if that circumstance has to do with fear of being seen. Well, it very well could, but I suspect that what it comes down to, Ivy, is a fear of being judged. A fear of being judged, a fear of being questioned, a fear of, being challenged could be difficult for a lot of us. And so we have to be very willing to put ourselves out there when we are ready. And so I do feel like that there's a readiness that has to happen inside of you first. And you may really be hard on yourself because of your RA. You may feel like there are things that you can't do that you should be able to do. Question yourself a little bit about that. And really, where are you with it in your thoughts? Terry's telling me I'm shorting out vocally. I'm really sorry. My computer where I'm doing my video is having a little bit of trouble and running kind of slow. And so that's probably where this is coming from. So just hang in there with me. If there's a problem, I apologize. I can't really do anything about it unless I just stop the video. So I'd like to keep going if I can. But I want to encourage you to really get to the deeper issue of what is it that you fear. Do you fear being judged? Do you fear being questioned? Do you fear being wrong? Do you fear being judged for your disability as far as your illness is concerned? What is it? And what is the worst case scenario? If somebody judged you for that, what would really happen? I mean, honestly, do you actually care what they think? And if you do, explore that. Look into why do I care? And, if you are confident in yourself in reading your cards at home, you can do it in public too. Some of it just takes practice and, a willingness to put yourself out there no matter what the outcome is. Sometimes you just have to try, right? But I do understand where you're coming from. But get to the bottom, get a little deeper into why you feel the way that you do. What is the fear? A little deeper. I think it will help you, okay? Thank you for that. Oh, here's a French proverb from Annika. Some of your griefs you have cured, and the sharpest you still have survived. But what torments of pain you endured from evils that never arrived. Oh, I love that so much. Exactly. We torment ourselves unbelievably, don't we? Over things that have never happened, or never will happen. A very small number of the things that we fear actually do happen in our lifetimes. Have you ever thought of that? That most of what we fear actually never comes true? Let's see. Sheila says, before the hurricane, and Sheila is in Puerto Rico, as we know, I was drawn to read and write about impermanence. Little did I know 2 hurricanes were going to alter and change our lives. I admit that after Hurricane Maria, fear caught up with me, even though I knew and understood about impermanence. The fear of the unknown was greater than that. I felt vulnerable. It took a lot of work on myself and the help of one to listen to finally accept and let go of the things I couldn't control and have faith. Once my level of stress began to ease, I started to feel connected again. Work in progress. Wonderful. I think half the battle is just recognizing where we're at with this, and we all are going to fall into fear. We're all going to fall into what if thinking. Those things are going to happen to all of us. So it's not about judging yourself that you fall into that or that you struggle with it. It is about identifying it, stopping it, changing it, shifting with it, and moving forward. And so I appreciate Sheila's message very much because, of course, she has experienced a significant amount of impermanence, having lived through some massive hurricanes and great destruction on the island where she lives. So we know that we have to be gentle with ourselves when it comes to this, don't we? It is not about more judgment or putting yourself down. It is just about bringing yourself back to a place of recognizing how you may be making this worse for yourself. Are you what ifing? Are you, getting stuck in the future, or are you getting stuck in the past? Are you fighting against impermanence when in reality we don't really have any choice about that? All of those things are things that we need to look at when it comes to fear. So I just want to encourage you to work on that. And, remember that it's okay to just return to center. If you're struggling, come back to a place of awareness and of observation of your thoughts. And don't get too stuck in the process and, judge yourself too harshly. Let's see here. Let's see what else we've got. Lillian loved the energy breathing. I'm so glad. Let's see. Kevin says, as I've started working on the sacral chakra, I have found that my throat chakra can become irritated. Am I imagining this, or is this common? This is very common, so I'm glad that you bring it up. Our chakras are connected to one another in a lot of different ways, and the sacral and the throat are directly connected. Think about it. Your sacral chakra is your center of emotional expression. Your throat chakra is your center of verbal expression. How do we express our emotions? In lots of ways we express them verbally. So a block in the sacral will also exist in the throat, and working on one works on the other. And so it makes total sense to me that you're experiencing some changes there and some irritation. Yes, you're clearing some things. So think about it, a little bit. And okay, so what am I doing working on my sacral chakra that's affecting my throat? Am I expressing myself more? Am I being more honest about how I feel? What am I doing that may be impacting my sacral chakra? And you'll find that or that is affecting my throat chakra. So if you're speaking your truth more, if you're working some of that built up energy, pent up emotional energy in there out, makes sense that there would be some irritation. It will clear up. It will definitely clear up, but you're in a process of healing and releasing that definitely does affect both chakras. So excellent question. Ivy says, those are some great questions. I do think I may judge myself too harshly and feel my talents may not be good enough, I guess. There you go. There you go. So you have to get to the bottom of that. So then, Ivy, you look at ways to slowly branch out. So maybe you read in public, but you read for someone that you know. So you read in public, but you're with someone that you're familiar with. So your setting is different, but the client is someone that you trust, and then you work yourself out further and further that way. I'll tell you, when my sisters and I were first starting out, we used to read cards in coffee shops. There were a couple of little coffee shops in our town that gave us permission to come in like one night a month, and we would sit at a table. We would sit at 2 or 3 tables with decks of cards and our business cards, and we would offer free readings to the patrons. And the coffee houses had, had given us permission to be there, and they would also promote it. And so people would come in specifically because they knew we were going to be there, and we would read with card decks that they sold, so that it benefited them in some way. And it helped me so much. I read for a whole bunch of strangers. It was absolutely terrifying at first, but it helped me a great deal get over that fear, because the vast majority of the time, it was a really good experience. Occasionally I had somebody go, I don't know, whatever, and walk away. And I just went, that's their issue, not mine. I'm not going to get too wrapped up in their response. So it's important to find ways to put yourself out there. And sometimes putting yourself out there with strangers is easier if you don't really care what they think, and I really worked at just staying in a place of neutrality. Like, okay, they're either going to get something out of this reading or they're not. I'm here to practice, and I will learn by talking to people. I will learn by doing this, and it helped me so much. So you might consider something like that. And yes, it's scary when you very first put yourself out there, but I'll tell you that the majority of the time, my experiences were positive, that people were very nice and people were very affirming about what I had to say. So consider taking the leap. Often our anticipation of something is much worse than the actual experience. Don't forget that. That's a part of that lie that fear tells us, that everything is going to work out badly, right? That's a lie that gets propagated in our minds. Our brains do that to us, and our egos, I think. And so try putting yourself out there without too much worry about the outcome. Just know you're there to practice. So it's not really about them, it's about you. And see if you can work yourself through some of that fear. Okay, guys, well, I have talked my way all the way down to the end of the show. Thank you so much for being here, for participating in the chat and in the videos, and for listening. If you are listening in the archives or in the replays, thank you for listening there as well. Or if you're on my YouTube channel listening, there's lots of different ways to hear my shows. And I appreciate all of you being here. I do this because I love you. I do this because I love to share my message, and I love that we can collaborate together. I appreciate all of that very much. I will be available for you right after the show at 12listen.com, as I am every day. You can hear me again this week on the Psychic Sisters on Thursdays. And as always, thanks for listening to 12 Radio, where we're changing the way you listen to the world. Okay.